you ever ask yourself, does my life matter? I know I do. I think that it's fairly common for us humans to hope that the life that we're living is making a difference to at least someone in our lives. We hope that when we get to the end of our days here on this earth, that we can look back and say, I was here. It's clear that I was here. I made a difference. I had an impact. I helped people change their lives, or I did good work, or I contributed in powerful and positive ways. I think that's in the hearts of most of us. However, we are challenged sometimes because we think that the people who are making the biggest difference are doing the biggest things. So we sometimes worship celebrities and doctors and scientists and the astronauts and sports figures. And not that there's anything wrong with that, because all of those people certainly make a difference in the life of our culture and contribute good things to people's lives. No doubt about that. It's just that we can get lost in comparing ourselves to those big people, thinking that if I didn't cure cancer, what difference could I have made? If I didn't do some big thing, if I wasn't famous or wealthy or didn't come up with some amazing idea to solve the problems of the world, was my life really one that made a difference? Is my life really one that made a difference? I love these questions that cartoonist Charles Schulz asks us to consider. There's two sets of them. The first set, here it is. Name the 5 wealthiest people on the planet right now. Name the last 5 Heisman Trophy winners. Name the last 5 women who won the latest beauty contest, Miss America. Name the last 5 people who won the Pulitzer or the Nobel Prize. Name the last 5 people who won the Academy Award for the actor or actress. I don't know about you, but for me, looking back on any of those lists, I can be a little bit lost. Google helps, but can I just name them off the top of my head? Maybe some of them, but not all of them. They did big things. They're probably really famous, probably really well known in many circles, yet I probably don't remember all their names. Contrast it to these other questions that Charles Schulz invites us to ask. See about this. Name a teacher who made a difference for you in your journey in school. Name a friend or two who's helped you out when you were struggling. Name 5 people who've taught you something worthwhile. Name a few people who you know see you and really care about you. See, when it comes to making a difference, I bet it was a lot easier to find some names for the second half of those questions. People who've influenced us, who've cared for us, who've loved us, who've lifted us up, who've held us when we cried, who sent us funny texts and happy memes when we were having a down moment, people who listened to us, people who gave advice to us, good advice when we needed it, people who saw the best in us. You see, we remember these people because this is where making a difference in life really shows up. And again, I'm not taking anything away from all the people who accomplished those big things that were in those first questions. However, I'm thinking that most of us misjudge the difference that we're making in people's lives, and possibly are striving to do some of those other things and missing that moment we were in a grocery store and a little child was crying and we smiled at them and they stopped. missing that moment when our kid felt really discouraged and we were able to hear them and see them and support them. Miss that moment where someone was struggling and we made a funny joke and we all laughed until we cried. We miss those moments sometimes. We miss giving ourselves credit in the make a difference category because we think those things are maybe small and insignificant. But today I'd like to invite us all to consider that they are not at all small or insignificant. They are the stuff that really matters. I was influenced greatly in my own journey by the movie Mr. Holland's Opus. It stars Richard Dreyfuss as a man who's a music guy. He's a composer, and he has this big dream of being a famous composer, composing a symphony. And yet he has to make a way to provide a life for his family. He has a wife and a son. And so he eventually kind of falls into teaching at a high school, teaching music, and sees this as sort of a way to earn money while he does this other thing. But what ends up happening is that his teaching becomes all consuming. And he's working with these young people decade after decade and working on his own symphony whenever he can find time. And he's discouraged by this and he's frustrated by this. And he doesn't believe he's making a difference because he's not doing the big work that he envisioned he would ultimately do. And so as these decades roll by, he has this feeling like he's just wasted his life. And eventually there comes this time where he's retiring, a forced retirement by the school system. And he's lamenting to a friend as he's packing up his classroom that he thinks he's wasted his life and hasn't really made a difference. And unbeknownst to him, there's this big party planned where they've called all sorts of previous students and faculty and families that he's influenced. And he comes into this big auditorium and he's just shocked by all these people who are there to celebrate him. So that was the first thing that I think took him back. But here's the real juicy part of the story. For me anyways, one of his students is now the governor of their state, and she rolls in and gets up and stands before him and talks about how he had these big dreams and that they all knew he had these big dreams, and yet he was there teaching every day, making a difference. And she looks at him and she says, "Look at all of us here, Mr. Holland. We are the symphony of your life." Oh, it gets me every time. We are the symphony of your life. And so what I'm inviting us to do today, on this Wednesday, or whenever you're watching this, is to take a deep breath. Look around. Look at the symphony of your life. It might be the people who are in your house with you right now, who are in your work life. It might be the person that you helped at the Starbucks this morning as they were struggling to get all their kids and their coffee into their car. It might be somebody that you smiled at that you don't even remember smiling at, but that day, because you smiled at them, you made a difference to them. You and we make a difference. I absolutely know it. But it's in the small ways that we extend ourselves in kindness, in love, and support. If you want to make a real difference, do that. And what I bet is at the end of your life, you'll be able to say, yeah, my life mattered. Thanks for tuning in.
Almighty Creator, Spirit Divine, we enter the flow of spiritual good, knowing that we are one with God. And in this moment, which is a new moment, we sense and feel that all is well. And in our lives, as human beings, we now take time to enter spiritual space, for we are spiritual beings as well. And in the up and down of uncertain times, human feelings of anxiety, concern, worry, and all that goes along with the uncertainty of living, we know in this moment that taking a breath, entering the calm space, and knowing that if we listen with different ears, feel with the very truth of our hearts, that all will be revealed as our spirit wishes. And so we take a deep breath wherever we are, giving thanks for life, giving thanks for energy, giving thanks that we have what we need to be resilient, to be trusting, to have faith. And each moment that we feel the unrest of life around us or life within us, we know that it takes just a second to pause, the pause that refreshes. And in doing this, we connect with Spirit and receive the gifts of trust, of faith, of knowingness, of love, of gratitude, of patience, and all that fills us to go forward in life and live our best lives. And for this promise, knowing that we are perfect, whole, and complete, and there is one life, and that life is our life now, one with the God of all things, who is our source. We give thanks. All else is released, and we say, so thank you, thank you, thank you. So it is. Amen.